준이야! 조금만!
The story follows a former Korean arm wrestling champion named Mark, who now works as a bouncer at a nightclub in America. One night, while on duty, he's approached by his old associate, Jin Ki, who encourages him to join an arm wrestling match. Mark initially declines, but Jin Ki insists and eventually convinces him to give it a shot. They head to the back of the club, where a crowd is gathered for underground matches and betting. There, Jin Ki introduces the man to Mark and adds that he did not say anything about the staff members being off limits. Mark's opponent is on a winning streak, making Mark the underdog. Despite the other man being clearly exhausted, no one bets on Mark, which actually benefits Jin Ki. Jin Ki proposes that if Mark loses, he'll stay at the club and work there forever. However, if Mark wins, he'll take all the money home. When the match starts, Mark shows off the strength that once made him a professional. His opponent struggles, unable to even move Mark's arm. Without much effort, Mark claims victory. However, trouble starts when the losing man refuses to accept defeat and punches Jin Ki. A full-on brawl breaks out between Mark and some customers. When he apologizes to the owner just slaps him and humiliates him. Mark then twists his hand and tells him if he touches him again, he'll be dead for sure. A week later, Mark finds a new job as a security guard at a grocery store. He earns a modest income and is content, though he still misses home now and then. Then, out of the blue, Jin Ki calls again, asking him to come to Korea for a national arm wrestling tournament. The winner will qualify for the international stage. Mark spends a moment staring at his old medals before deciding to take the leap. When Mark arrives in Korea, Jin Ki comes to pick him up. Mark twists his hand and confronts him about not sending him a plane ticket. Jin Ki apologizes, and both go to a restaurant to talk business. There, Jin Ki tells Mark about a big-shot loan shark named Yoo Jae-soo who loves sports betting. According to Jin Ki, if they keep going on the right track, they might come across him. Jin Ki also offers to be Mark's agent, handling the professional side of things. Though he wishes Mark well, he also sees this as a chance to make money by getting into betting. The two spend the day sightseeing. At one location, some girls mistake Mark for a celebrity and snap pictures with him. Years in America have made his Korean a bit clumsy, leading to some awkward moments. That night, they visit a club, but Mark doesn't mingle. He quietly stands off to the side, falling back into his bouncer habits. A girl asks Mark about the toilet and he guides her, acting as if he was the bouncer of that club. On the way to their hotel, Jin Ki asks Mark if he's ever thought about finding his biological mother. Mark, who was adopted as a child, says he has no interest. He's left the past behind. Jin Ki drops him at a love hotel, where Mark discovers a vibrating waterbed for the first time. There, he finds a gift box from Jin Ki containing a phone. Inside is the address of his birth mother. He quickly turned it off as he didn't want to go there. As he lies down to rest and attempts to turn on the TV, his bed starts shaking. Turns out it was a waterbed. Meanwhile, Jin Ki finally tracks Yoo Jae-soo and gets into an elevator with him, planning to talk to him afterwards. Things don't go as planned as Jin Ki is tied upside down by Yoo's secretary. Jin Ki still tells him about Mark and how amazing he is at arm wrestling. Yoo doesn't appreciate the unsolicited meeting and tells Jin Ki that he has already bet a lot on something like this, but has never given anything in return. Jin Ki somehow convinces Yoo, but Yoo has one condition. He wants Mark to win and lose as ordered. Jin Ki agrees and mentions that if he gets 10% of the profit, he'll control Mark. The next day, Mark visits the address on the phone. He has to climb a lot of stairs before he gets close to the location on the phone. Before he can knock, two kids spot him, asking him who he was. One of the kids thinks he's a beast because of his size. When Mark asks the kids whose house it was, one of them tells him that it used to be their grandma's, before she could reveal any more. The kid's brother shut her up, telling her not to talk to strangers like that. Before Mark could say anything, he got a call from Jin Ki, who had been looking for him. Mark then decides to leave instead of visiting that house. The kids rush to tell their mother, Soo-jin, about the scary man outside. The family watches him walk away from the window. Soo-jin runs a struggling thrift shop and owes money to Yoo, who frequently harasses her. Later that night, Jin Ki takes Mark to introduce him to Yoo. Yoo is impressed to see Mark's body and compliments him, but Mark is very stiff and uninterested around him, which he quickly notices. Jin Ki tries to calm Mark down and tells him to act normally. Later at a mall, Soo-jin notices Mark and Yoo heading into a club. Jin Ki has arranged for Mark to meet potential sponsors and show off his skills. While Mark is defeating everybody at arm wrestling, Yoo, along with a rich, spoiled brat named Ji, observes him from afar. Yu tries to convince Ji to sponsor Mark, which he agrees to. On the other hand, Jin-ki tells Mark about Ji being Yu's money man. Jin-ki doesn't seem very fond of Jie, as he's known to be a spoiled brat. Later, both Mark and Jin-ki are given a luxury hotel room. There, Jin-ki relaxes on a massage chair and tells Mark to do the same. While Mark initially refuses, he's later seen to enjoy getting a massage on the massage chair. Jin-ki then asks Mark about the homecoming present he gave him. He also offers to go find his biological mother, but Mark refuses. Just then, Jin-ki receives a message from Yu. Mark must win the first match tomorrow but lose the second. Jin-ki is unsure how Mark will react. When he tries to talk to him about it, he finds Mark sleeping on the massage chair. The next morning, Soo-jin gets her kids ready for school. The older child, Jun-hyung, is worried the big man will come back. Soo-jin grows suspicious and pulls out old photos, finding one of Mark and his mother. In the meantime, Jun-hee spots Mark in the street, who had been hiding from both of them. Mark asks the kids if their grandma's name is Lee Jong-suk. The kids affirm. Jun-hee seems to be excited, but Joo-hyung threatens to call the police if he sees Mark again. Elsewhere, Korea's top arm wrestler Kim is introduced. He is giving classes on how to ace in an arm wrestling match. The two girls standing at the front find it unassuming and leave, while the two nerdy boys standing behind them are highly interested. At that moment, Combo gets a call from Yu, who invites him to assess Mark's abilities before betting further. On the other hand, Mark closely observes Soo-jin and follows her to her workplace. There, Jin-ki notices Mark observing Soo-jin closely and approaches him. Mark, who is startled, tries to take Jin-ki elsewhere. But in the meantime, Soo-jin notices both of them before they leave. They go to a restaurant afterwards, where Mark berates the food initially but ends up emptying a bunch of bowls, leaving Jin-ki shocked. After that, Jin-ki casually tells Mark that he must win the first match and lose the second one. Surprisingly, Mark agrees to do that without throwing a tantrum. That evening at the club, Mark goes up against a towering opponent and, after a tough match, wins. Kim, who was also observing the match, was highly impressed by Mark's strength. In the meantime, Soo-jin also comes to see the match but is spotted by Yu. Yu approaches Soo-jin and touches her inappropriately. Mark notices Yu's behavior and feels annoyed. When the next match begins, instead of throwing it, he wins to defy Yu. When Yu says this, he gives Jin-ki a death stare. Confused and scared, Jin-ki quickly approaches Combo and asks him for a match with Mark. Both Combo and Mark show disinterest in having an arm wrestling match against each other. As Mark tries to leave, he's confronted by Yu. Mark just pushes him aside and leaves, followed by Jin-ki. Outside, Jin-ki tries to convince Mark to go back inside, but he still doesn't want to go. Jin-ki suspects Soo-jin is the reason for Mark's defiance and rushes to confront her. At the same time, Yu arrives and assaults Jin-ki. Mark intervenes, sparking a fight with Yu's men. In the meantime, Yu tries to assault Soo-jin as well, but Mark intervenes. Just as Yu was getting ready to fight Mark, the police arrived. Yu puts all the blame on Jin-ki and Mark before leaving. Both Jin-ki and Mark are taken to the police station, where Jin-ki tries to prove their innocence. They ask for Mark's ID, but he's forgotten his bag and passport at Soo-jin's shop. To prove he's a real arm wrestler, he challenges a cop to a match and wins, but they still won't let him go without documentation. Luckily, Soo-jin shows up with his passport and a childhood photo. She reveals that she's Mark's stepsister, and their mother passed away a year ago because of cancer. Devastated, Mark doesn't know how to respond. As they're leaving, Mark confirms again with Soo-jin if she's really his stepsister. Soo-jin mentions that he should thank him first, instead of being so straightforward with her. Jin-ki suggests that they should all go to Soo-jin's place to have a chat. Both Mark and Jin-ki spend the night at Soo-jin's place and are woken up by Jun-hee. In the meantime, Jun-hyung struggles with opening the door to the bathroom as it's stuck. Mark tries to help open the door, but instead he ends up breaking it open. As the kids leave for school, Mark sees an old photo of him and his mother, feeling nostalgic. In the meantime, Soo-jin confronts a bunch of teens loitering outside. The teens start misbehaving with Soo-jin, but flee the moment they see Mark. As the teenagers leave, Soo-jin asks Mark if the neighborhood has changed during all the years he was gone. Mark admits he doesn't remember much, so he can't say for sure. Soo-jin mentions that if he had just spoken to her the last time he came by, the whole incident with the police could have been avoided. Mark agrees and owns up to his mistake, explaining that he was planning to leave because he didn't want to make her uncomfortable. Soo-jin comments that his personality is a little strange and tells him he's free to leave whenever he wants. Later, the kids find a medal in Mark's luggage and quickly hide it behind their backs when he walks into the house. Mark grabs his bag and heads out. Outside, he spots two men in suits hanging around the neighborhood. He soon realizes they're Yu's men, there to collect a debt from Soo-jin. They try to provoke him, but Mark manages to scare them off. Watching everything from the balcony, the kids cheer and start clapping, then invite Mark to join them for a meal. Mark tries to make burgers for the kids, but they turn out terrible, so he tells them to get ready because they're going out to eat instead. The only problem is he doesn't have any money. They eventually crash a random kid's birthday party and eat to their heart's content. Meanwhile, Jin-ki is struggling with money. Seeing Mark's bond with the family gives him an idea. He contacts a broadcaster to film Mark's life. When Soo-jin gets home and hears about the kids going to the buffet and how happy they were with Mark, she feels a sense of relief. Mark spotted Yu's men in the area again, but they quickly took off as soon as they saw him. Inside, Mark tells Soo-jin to cook proper meals for her kids, as he had noticed them not eating enough. As he leaves the house, he spots the men again, making them leave immediately. Meanwhile, Yu decides to team up with Combo's former partner to take Mark down. The guy was unhinged and had a brutal habit of smashing his opponent's hands into broken glass whenever they lost. Later, Jin-ki goes to Mark and tells him about a family-friendly tournament in Busan. Though unsure at first, Mark agrees. During their trip to Busan, Mark finds out that Soo-jin's husband died in a car accident, and she was injured in it too. Since then, she's had a hard time driving. After hearing this, Mark decides to help her regain confidence by teaching her how to drive again. The tournament kicks off with Combo taking on several challengers, including kids and women, and defeating each one. However, the atmosphere changes when Mark steps up to challenge Combo. Despite a tough battle, Mark comes out victorious. After the match, the family enjoys some quality time together, leaving Soo-jin feeling truly happy. That night, Soo-jin asks Mark if he wants to visit their mother's charnel house. Mark replies that he'd rather wait and go there later. Soo-jin mentions how their mother wanted to see him badly even when she was on her deathbed, but Mark had only one question. Why did she abandon him to begin with? Soo-jin shared how difficult it must have been for their mother to raise him on her own. The two then arm wrestled to lighten up the mood. Weeks later, Mark's story aired on national TV. It talks about his past, adoption, and struggles. The public loves it, and the documentary earns them good money. Soo-jin asks Jin-ki why Mark hasn't found any sponsors despite his growing popularity. Jin-ki advises her to be patient. Meanwhile, at home, Mark notices Soo-jin brushing off Jun-hyung's question about his shoes. Later, it's revealed that Soo-jin was planning to surprise her son with his favorite pair. The next morning, Mark took the pair of shoes to Jun-hyung while he and Jun-hee were leaving for school. There, they overhear someone speaking badly about Mark. Upset, Jun-hee loudly defends him, insisting that her uncle is a champion. When the woman explains how tough it is to become an arm wrestling champion, Jun-hee makes Mark promise her that he will become a true champion. We're then introduced to Jin-ki's father, an elderly man still working hard. Jin-ki's motivation for wealth is to give his dad a better life. That night, Ju-hyung shows Mark old emails written by his mother. Mark learns that she deeply regretted giving him up and tried to write to him every day, even sending heartfelt emails to an address that never reached him. In her last days, she only wished to see him once more. Mark also finds out that Soo-jin isn't his stepsister. She was adopted by his mother after losing her parents. Feeling betrayed, Mark confronts Soo-jin on a trip to their mother's grave. Furious, he says he's going back to America for good. Jin-ki tries to stop him, reminding him the tournament is only a week away. But Mark, hurt and disillusioned, accuses Jin-ki of using him for profit and walks away. In a montage, we see Combo training hard. Yu, determined to win, hires a ruthless wrestler named Kane. Once notorious for breaking arms and using performance-enhancing drugs, Kane is back and ready to dominate. On the day of the championship, the kids realize they forgot to return Mark's medal. They take a bus to the arena to watch him compete. Soo-jin, alerted by a friend, rushes after them. The competition begins with Mark, Combo, and Kane placed in separate groups. All three win their matches and reach the semifinals. Kane injures his opponents without remorse. G and his crew bet everything on Kane. Seeing how well Mark is doing, they pressure Yu to rig the outcome. Yu offers Jin-ki $200,000 to convince Mark to throw the semifinal. Jin-ki agrees and approaches Mark, but Mark refuses. Despite the money solving all their problems, he won't break the promise he made to Jun-hee. He faces Combo and wins an intense match. During the break, Yu catches Jin-ki and beats him. Mark intervenes and saves his friend, telling him to forget the money. Jin-ki urges him to win no matter what. In the final round, Kane plays dirty, pulling Mark's thumb and making false starts. It seems like Kane will win, but Mark spots the kids cheering for him. Reinvigorated, he musters all his strength and slams Kane's hand down, winning the championship. In the final scene, Mark tearfully speaks to his mother on TV, saying he loves her and expressing sorrow over her pain. The movie ends with the crowd celebrating his victory.